care, right, about our government. They care a lot about these issues. And the fact that we have 4 candidates showing up to make their case to the American voters, I think gives them credit.
Right.
The big elephant in the room is that the Republican Party frontrunner is not there.
So if you were advising the Trump campaign,
yeah,
would you tell Donald Trump to show up?
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because at this point, he is looking arrogant. He is looking like, look, I worked against Hillary Clinton with Barack Obama, and I saw arrogance and how that is viewed by the electorate.
Sure.
They don't like an arrogant candidate.
But the polls, and again, I'm not going all in on the polls, but if Trump were behind, I'd say, okay, dude, something's not working.
But this is the problem with polls. They don't vote.
Sure, I agree. And I think this is why Iowa is going to be everything. But I do think that there is something to be said. Look at Chris Christie. I mean, with all due respect, he barely made the stage at the last minute through a last-minute poll. If I'm Donald Trump and you know that all 4 of them, well, 3, not Vivek, are basically going to make this against you as opposed to their vision, why show up? What do you have to gain?
I don't think that they would. I don't think you
my
could
God,
take that
they
bet.
have to.
But here's the thing, Sean.
They do it when he's not there.
Look, not always. In fact, I think there are a lot of people who criticize the candidates not going hard enough on Trump. I think the American voters deserve to hear from Donald Trump in a setting where there are other candidates before it's a one-on-one contest.
Is there anything that you think that you would learn about Donald Trump if he shows up in the debate?
Yes, I would, because look, I said when Donald Trump won the election, when you guys won, I was very alone. Well, no, I actually predicted it, and I was very alone in what I was saying, because I was saying I'm going to root for the president of the United States.
Right.
I didn't know anything
with you. Right.
I didn't know anything about his policy because he hadn't been a Republican until he ran under the Republican umbrella. I didn't know what he was going to do. Now we have seen a little bit of what he has done, and then we saw January 6th. We have not had an election since January 6th, except for the 2022 midterm, which had tons of surprises. Donald Trump cannot take to the bank that he is going to win this after he has threatened
But you acknowledge that he has a right to a strategy, right? I mean, he can either show up, not show up.
He can, but Sean, I don't think he's listening to his staff here, because
I do.
Obviously somebody was calling and trying to figure out when the last moment he could get on the stage was, because they had to set another
listen,
podium.
First of all, as I've worked
like
for Donald
Jimmy
Trump,
Carter that
you
way.
have to have all of your options on the table. So I think doing good staff work, you were headed up advance.
Yeah.
Your job, and I don't mean to tell you what it was, but I know
But I would say go wipe the floor with them. If you are the best candidate, go wipe the floor with them, and then there's no question about it. You are by far and away the front runner. You are, the victim of the Democratic left, like, going at you.
Do you agree that that's right now, even the battleground polls have him ahead of Biden, right?
Polls don't vote.
I get it.
But yes.
Fair enough. But do you guys, who do you fear the most?
We don't fear Donald Trump as much.
You don't?
No. The truth is, I think Democrats are rooting for Donald Trump. Many Democrats are rooting for Donald Trump. I don't.
Don't you think that's weird? I always think that.
I think it's terrible.
Right. So
and I want to change this mindset. You and I have talked about this. I want to change this mindset of the resist. Right? I want us to figure out collaboration for our government and for us to remain the dominant force worldwide, because I believe there is no place greater than the United States of America for the freedoms that we enjoy. However, this mindset of we need to win, let's have the weaker candidate exists with both parties in too many cases.
So who would you, I don't think fear is the right word, but if you were like looking from the Biden campaign, do you really worry more about Nikki Haley than you do about Donald Trump?
Yes. And I said at our 15-year anniversary with President Obama, of all of us who got him elected, I was making the argument that I think Nikki Haley should win the nomination because she's telling the truth. She's a good candidate. And Democrats said to me, she'll be tougher to beat. And I said, yes, I do.
Having a woman, a minority one, I mean, that would be a much harder.
And not even just that, Sean. If you look at, and we know, Arizona and Pennsylvania,
I know the
areas
polls
you
don't
need
vote.
these women, they would vote for Nikki Haley.
But I know we say the polls don't vote, and you and I are on the same page with that. But it's funny, in a lot of the head-to-head matchups, Trump actually is now doing better than Haley.
See, again, this is a poll someone calls.
I get it.
I just when you actually put Donald Trump, by not coming to any of these debates, he's doing his own thing.
Right.
He's not getting all the spotlight. So all of the crazy things that he's saying, whether it's
So let
going
me ask
after
this,
his
but don't you
own
think that
former
maybe
staffers.
maybe that's actually good. If you're play devil's advocate for a second, if you think he's going to come say crazy things, right? Maybe it is better that he's not here, putting himself at risk of saying something that would advantage.
Well, then
DeSantis
what are
or-
you going to do when it's him against Biden? I mean,
that one I'm not worried about.
But here's the thing about Joe Biden. Like, I can hear, again, I said I didn't want it to be a Biden v. Trump.
You want to get rid of the
rematch.
debt. You have make that presidential debates pay-per-view.
And look, we would literally, in the advanced world,
We would make so
in
much
the
money.
advanced world, we would have like all of the crazy things that Biden has said, his gaffes or whatever, on our walls. Like, it was just
That's a lot of walls.
it was always fun. But Joe Biden, as president, has not told anyone to drink bleach to cure a pandemic. He has.
Okay.
He has.
If you want to
he
put on
has-
the list of things that
he has
said.
not said much to the American people, which is a whole other
Right.
problem. But, he's a more controlled presence. And so if Americans
he's-
have the choice between predictable and completely unpredictable, I
So let me ask
suspect
you this.
most of
What-
them are
what
going to
would
go
you grade-
predictable.
What would you? I know Gavin Newsom got asked this the other night.
Oh, yeah.
What would you grade the Biden administration overall?
They've had some wins that are underestimated,
But that's-
including infrastructure and, in terms of, I thought the
Go, give me a
Inflation
grade.
Reduction Act,
Let's start with a grade.
a B.
Okay.
A
And
B.
what would? Okay, so
Because
you-
they're too reactionary. They're not thinking in advance enough. Now, look, they came into office. They're catching up with a lot of things that were done to basically, limit the size of government, which means that if you are going to take on asylum cases or anything like that, as we both know, you actually need people to
let me-
take
let me-
those things on.
Let me play a game with you. Like 30 seconds, right? I'm going to tell you why Joe Biden shouldn't be reelected, and then you get 30 seconds to tell me why he should. Okay? And we
Okay.
go either way.
All right.
I would just say, in the 4 years prior to Joe Biden being elected, our foreign policy was at bay. Iran wasn't provocative. North Korea wasn't provocative. China wasn't doing what they are in the sea. Russia hadn't annexed a piece of land under Putin for the first time in an administration. Domestically, our border was under control. The unemployment was at historic lows. Inflation was tamed. Gas prices were down. All of that is gone after Trump left office and in 2.5 years of Biden. Go.
When the Biden administration took over, it was after 4 years of Trump. And look,
Okay.
we gave him 8 years of a data-based economy. We had inherited a financial crisis, turned it into a data-based economy. He gave that an injection by doing a massive tax reduction for the top wealthiest 1%. That gave a sugar high to our economy that then they spent more money than we have spent in Ukraine on PPP fraud during the pandemic. It was completely mismanaged, and now we're facing massive inflation worldwide. And I would say the Biden administration has tried very hard to make government work for the American people. And I would say if we go back to the Trump era, we are just, I don't even know what to predict, but I worry that right now, most of his former staff aren't going to work for him. Nobody, I don't even know
Okay,
who's
but
going
do
to
you
work
understand- here's
in
my
that
point.
administration.
I can sit here and tell you domestically and internationally why there's a contrast that should reelect Donald Trump or whomever.
But let's talk about
what do you-
international
Okay, but
issues.
hold on. Just I want to know, as a Democrat, when you get asked from somebody who might say, "Hey, Johanna, I know you've been in the game. Why should I vote for Joe Biden?" What is it that you tell them?
One, consistency. We want to see growth, long-term growth. We want government that works. We
You
want.
think government's working?
I think that they are trying very hard. No,
Okay,
I do. Largely, it's working, right, Sean?
No, it's not.
Why?
I don't feel any sense of confidence in what our government is doing
Why?
at any level. Name one agency, one department, one program that's working well.
I don't know. What are your examples that they don't work well?
The post office, the IRS, HHS, DOD, state.
So these are all agencies that we all have control of, and this is what I would
But what
say
I'm saying is there's nothing in government that I can point to that's working well.